Hi, this is King of Review. Here we need to find the coefficient of x to the third in the expansion of x plus 2 to the fifth. X plus 2 is a binomial, it has two terms, and we need to multiply it by itself 5 times. Actually doing that multiplication would be very time-consuming, and it would be very easy to make a small error somewhere. Instead, there's a nice shortcut called Pascal's triangle. Pascal's triangle makes use of a theorem called the binomial theorem, but it's a much quicker shortcut for using that theorem. This theorem expands binomials like x plus 2 raised to some power like 5. So Pascal's triangle is basically just a triangle of numbers. It starts out with 1 and then 2 ones, so already we have a triangle. And then each line after that still starts and ends with a 1, but for any numbers in the middle, we add up the two numbers above it. 1 plus 1 gives us 2. That's the third row of the triangle. On the fourth row, we start with 1 and we end with 1, but then in the middle, we have 1 plus 2, or 3, and 2 plus 1, also 3. On the next row, we start with 1. 1 plus 3 is 4, 3 plus 3 is 6, 3 plus 1 is 4, and then we end with a 1. And we could keep doing this as long as we need. I'm going to go one more row, 1, 5, 10, 10, 5, and end with 1. Pascal's triangle shows us what happens when we expand a binomial raised to different powers. The top row is if we raise a binomial to the 0th power. The next row if we raise it to the first power, the second power, the third power, the fourth power, and the last row I've written down is raising it to the 5th power, which is the power we want. So these numbers here in the row for the 5th power are the coefficients of the different terms. We're going to have 6 terms. A term with coefficient 1, with coefficient 5, coefficient 10, another coefficient 10, another coefficient 5, and then a coefficient of 1. The 6 numbers in the 6th row of Pascal's triangle. So those are the coefficients, and they'll all be added together. So, now that we have the coefficients, we need the rest of these terms. And those come from the two parts of our binomial itself, x plus 2. We'll start with x since that comes first. The first term will have x to the 5th because we're raising this binomial to the 5th power. And then we'll go down by 1 each time. X to the 4th, x to the 3rd, x squared, x, and this would be x to the 0, but x to the 0 is just 1, so I'm going to leave out the x entirely. Then we go to the second part of the binomial, the 2. We start out with 2 to the 0. So we go in reverse. We start out with the 0 power. Then we go 2 to the 1st, 2 to the 2nd, 2 to the 3rd, 2 to the 4th, and 2 to the 5th. Okay, now this is the polynomial. This is the expanded version of x plus 2 to the 5th. But we need to simplify it a bit. I'm going to focus on the x to the 3rd term, x cubed, because that's the one we want the coefficient of. So here's the term that has x cubed in it. So what I need to figure out is what happens when I multiply 10 times 2 squared. Well, let's see. 10 times 2 squared is 10 times 4, which is 40. So this term becomes 40x cubed. So if I want the coefficient of x cubed, that's going to be 40. So our answer is C. And that's it. Thanks for watching.